Hello. Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Shreyans from AskCodi. I'm the CEO of Assistive AI, and today I'm going to be talking about the new changes and basically having one-to-one conversations about what we are building and what the direction are we taking at AskCodi. I'll just give a couple of seconds for everyone to join in, and then I'm going to start walking through all the new features and how to use the AskCodi agent and how to add your own data sources. So just give me a minute and we'll get started. Okay, I think we can start now. Uh, okay, so this is the new AskCodi beta. We are currently rolling new features and making new updates to the beta of AskCodi while we keep classic, the current app.askcodi as is for people to go back to a familiar setup to use something that is more stable. And while we build the new feature of AskCodi where we build exciting stuff in terms of new agents, new apps, and since it's all very experimental, we still want to kink out all the issues before we launch it to the general public. Currently, to go on beta, you have to join a wait list and send us basically as to what you would think your use case for agents is. Very soon, we are going to do a public beta where every member of our Codi community can use our Codi beta. So this is how it looks like once you log in into beta.askcodi.com. You would have to log in again. But as you see it, just to very quickly recap as to what direction are we going with AskCodi is basically we are bringing back some of the old features of AskCodi that was very loved by the community. One of them was the tools that's coming back. So we have added basically direct coding tools that are useful for users who do not want to go through the entire experience of adding an extra information, adding an extra screen, and walking through. So, or even writing a prompt about like, hey, you are a data developer and you want to do this. So, we have optimized prompts for different models and already added them on our web page. So, you have different tools, which is code generator, code extender. We are adding more and more tools. Recently we also added a visual coding tool, which is image to code. We'll also go through this once we are there. We have our integrations and we have added quick links for people who want to just work with a particular language. um, the other changes to the website that's coming is the Codi agent. This screen is even new for the people who have been using beta for a while. We are going in a direction where you create an agent and you stick to it. You still you keep working with it, and we're going to continuously add templates, not with just new tools but with new roles and new data sources that can be added, even public data sources that we are hoping to add very soon on our platform. Then we have the data sources where you can now create a data source with a set of your local files or your GitHub repository and make sure that your Codi agent knows what it's working on or what it needs to reply to. So usually GitHub for local files it's pretty easy. You just upload your files and it creates a data source for you. But GitHub is a little more tricky because it takes a lot of time if the repository is really big, and it only works with repository that are public or you have access to. So for today's example, I want to work with the fast API library. I have it open. It's a public library and it's a very popular library for Python, so I thought we could maybe try experimenting with it today. So like I said, just copied the URL for it, basically which says the organization name or the creator's name and the name of the package itself. You need, and since it's a long library, I want to get this done before I go through other parts, because when I explain you the tools, this will be done. Indexing, so we have our GitHub access token. you need this to access any library, so that because it's sort of forking, so you need this. So to get your personal access token, we also have included a link from GitHub which literally goes through how you have to do this. For me, I have opened my profile, so very quickly I can show you how to create a GitHub access link. You need to go to developer settings in your settings tab. Yeah, you can go to personal access tokens, and then we need a classic token. So let's generate a new classic token. I'm going to name this AskCodi live, so that I know that I can go back and delete it. For this, I'll just set a very quick uh, expiration date. Then we need to see, okay, so I need my full control of the private repository, so that I can also uh, actually encapsulate my repositories on AskCodi if I want to work with them. For the other ones, I don't need access to other things. I don't need access to users. So this is good. I'll generate a new token. It gave me a new token. I'll copy paste that to my app. So this is a fast API repo. And this, okay, so what this title is for, this is for you to recognize which repository you want to add to your agent. But this description is for the agent to figure out when to use this repository. So if you, so to use this repository for the agent to understand, I'll add an instruction as to useful when you want to look up files or code about fast API library in Python. I'm just adding this Python for precaution. I don't need to, but I'll add it, and then create data source. So now you can see that a data source was added, and it's loading. So it's trying to index the whole thing in the background. This can take some time depending on the size of the data repository. I'll just refresh to check if it worked really fast, but I don't think it worked. It actually failed. Okay, so this can happen. Usually it happens when you don't have access to the repository, or sometimes it's logged. Again, this is very beta, and this is something we are trying to do with the new repositories. Like I said, this can happen. Usually, if you can try it again. Like, I think I added the repository name incorrectly. Okay, I have the access token. Okay, we are working on this better in a better way, so that it's easier to add these repositories and also shows you what's actually wrong. Right now, actually, I get the point where I cannot understand, but in this case I would recommend you to reach out to support, so that we can debug these issues and then go for what is the problem for it. um, yeah, so right now I know this repository is failing, so I won't try it again. I will let you know. I already have loaded the request library, which is the library for calling request packages, making API requests with Python. So I'm going to work with that for now. I have the home tab where you have these tools. So now going back to the AI tools that we have. So code generator, this is something very quick and dirty for generating code. You can still select your language. You can select your model from here. Currently, since I'm on the ultimate plan, I have access to base, GPT 3.5 and 4. I have unlimited access to base and 3.5, and but I usually use base because currently we're using llama 70 billion for this, and it actually works even better than GPT 5 in some of the scenarios. I really like how base usually gives me responses, so I'm going to stick to base for now. As for um, code generation, so I'll be like, okay, since fast API didn't work for me, I think it would be funny to check if um, how do you install fast API. I think this is a nice, and usually the answers are really quick. The model is really fast. It tells you to install pip, and you get the answer quick and dirty right here. Main.py in a fast API app. See, it's really quick. This is usually for quick responses. If you want to look up something on internet, if you want to look up something, how to do something, this is the quickest way to do this without opening a tab or anything. So yeah, you get this entire code. I will use this once it's done. So it created an entire main.py template for fast API. If I had added more information on this, it would have generated an entire app for me. So I'll just copy paste this code, and like if I, you can even add a context. So continuing with this, maybe like I'll add this. I have a name, age. Okay, so write a code for Python 3 that in my app also stores address of a person. Since I know it's using the person class to get data, so just to show you how a context works very quickly. So here's an updated code that includes the person because it understands what's there. So now it also has an address, and that's the power of context. So very quickly, if you also want to add context and still want to have that, so yeah, add context, add instruction, and you're ready to go. I already have that code copied, so I'm gonna go into some of the other apps. I have a code analysis section where there's a code reviewer app. What you can do is literally have this code ready here, click on generate, and what it does is it goes through what basically it sort of reviews your code quality and everything. So you have consistent spacing, you have type hints for function parameters, and it gives you literally a code quality section, a readability section. So if you're reviewing someone's code or if you want to understand something, I think this is very good place to start. And since all of these apps are optimized for it, I would recommend you to use the app in a way that you can go from code generation to code review to code refactor to code fixing really quickly. Then I promise you to also have a look at the code to image app. So in this case, like I have this poster and build this UI in Tailwind CSS, and I have an Angular JS already mentioned here. So when I click on generate, what this will do is this uses the GPT-4 vision of OpenAI, and sometimes it takes the image into consideration and takes an instruction, and then it tries to generate code for it. So build this image element. I'm just gonna keep it very simple in terms of letting it understand what I'm asking for it. So it is reading the image. Yeah, this is again also, it's a beta on beta because it's a beta model from OpenAI, but like you see, it can read the image. It can see that it's a growth hack. Like the image I had added was this one. So it was a basically a poster that we had generated, and it doesn't look like a UI element. It's not a UI element, but again, it tells you it's a growth hack image. So it can read your images, and then it can give you a very simplified version of, like, say, it didn't give me the exact thing, but it gave me an Angular component with a JavaScript and the CSS. So uh, yeah, it can read your images, it can generate code for it. We are still optimizing this app to directly give you an answer rather than thinking you are trying to understand an image. uh, yeah, but this app will be improved soon and soon out of beta. So yes, okay, very quickly maybe we can do like vanilla CSS. What is the CSS style to center the header or something? So it's going to read your image, and then it's understanding that what you need, and then yeah, it works in a way where it gives you the code for the image that you have uploaded. This is currently only accessible with the ultimate plan because it works with GPT-4 Vision, which is only available on our ultimate plan, but we are soon adding other open source models and other models that we have for Vision. So Lava comes to mind, and that will be available for the lower plans. Now going to a main feature, which is Codi Agent. This isn't this So Codi Agent, how we're designing it in a way is we are thinking of them as actual employees or people in your workforce that you interact with. So you only need to create one for every, as you would think of an employee, you would not hire multiple front-end developers and like you tell them to, you won't hire one for every new element that you create. You would keep on going back to one. So that's what the aim is, that it has a perpetual memory, it has a vector-based memory, so it can remember your past conversations even if it went 10 or 20 conversations ago, but it will remember your conversations. It can access to different tools. So I would recommend you to create one based on what your language is and what you want. So like I'll create a Python developer. I'll name it Python developer. I will again continue using base model. You can again switch to 3.5 or 4, and I want this to be Python, so I can type it. I want it to be Python 3. I wanted to use Codi search. Since we already have, see, this is where the title comes into place, where you want to read the title file. So since I already have the request library added, I'll use the request library and then I'll create an agent. Once you create an agent, it takes you inside. So this is the Codi agent screen, and yeah, every time you open the Python developer screen, this will open up and you can keep talking to your developer in this conversation. You do not need to create a new agent every time you want to talk about Python. Or so now every time I want to work with the request library, I'll come back to this agent without worrying about how long my conversation has been, what other information. Maybe I'm talking about something that is not even related to what was happening in the past, but still, yeah, I would still come back to this agent. Just very quickly going back to the old agent. So how Codi chat is coming into play is basically if you define an agent without any tools, it is going to act like Codi chat. So it's going to have a conversation with you. It's going to reply to what you want to ask. So I already have a Codi chat, which is basically the one that I use whenever I want to have a chat. Since it has no access to the tools, so if I write hi, it's going to reply me back, hello, I'm excited. And this is going to act exactly as Codi chat. So uh, yeah, if you want just a chatbot, create one and keep using this. And if you, so this is the settings tab which lets you update the setting. So okay, I'm using a Codi chat, but I also wanted to search something. I don't want it to be plain Codi chat, so I just updated my chat bot to also use code search. So how to use request library. This one doesn't have the data source. I'm going to try the same example in the agent with the data source, but this time I'm going to ask it a question. And what I'm hoping for it to do is basically it's going to search the internet for request library documentation. It's going to get, since I'm using code search, most of the search requests that I'm getting back will have some sort of code element in there. If I was using web search, it would be more like articles and documentation. So if you want to research something, web search is the tool for you. If you want to get code back, code search is the tool for you. I have this code. Very quickly we can go through this. So it's giving me the real Python geeks for geeks. These are, if you know, these are links which have actual code examples for you. So yeah, this code search tool is very optimized to find the right code block for you. And now you see your Codi chat has become a agent which can also use tools. Since I use this for chats, I'm going to change back the settings so that it doesn't interfere. Now going to my Python developer. So this one also has code search and file retrieval. So if this time I search, how do I get started with request library? This time I run. So the agent itself has a brain which it understands what I'm trying to search, and usually is the one that decides which tool to use. So we have no hand in forcing it to use the file retrieval or code search. So in this case, when I asked a very generic question as to how to get started with the request library, it went with the easy and the first tool that I had access to, code search. Now if I ask, so the question was, how do I get started with request library? Um, what packages does the request library depend on? If I quickly run this again, it's searching the web. So yeah, if you want something very specific that you want to force it to use your uh, file retrieval tool, I would recommend you to turn off the code search or any sort of search, because I know I want to use file retrieval. I'm going to do the same question again, and this time what it's going to do, since it has access to only file retrieval, it should use the file retrieval tool and give us basically searching for files requests. So this time it got an svg because it has the name request in it, which is not good for us. So we're gonna since I know the requirements file, since I'm going to be working on my projects requirements dev.txt file, which packages are in requirements.txt file, add and run. So this time you see it searched for the requirements dev text file, and it's telling me all the packages it's included in there. So when this is really helpful when you're working on your project. So when you're working on it, like if I was supposed to be working on the AskCodi project, what I would have done is literally added AskCodi package as a data source, and then I would have found like, okay, make this change in this element based on this file name. So it would have looked for the exact file name, and yeah, this is what it is doing. So how do I get started with requests? How do I make an API call with request library? Agents, so this is what we define as a zero shot agent. What this is basically you give it an input and then it figures out what tools it needs to answer that particular question. This is the first kind of agent that we're playing around with. We're gonna later move to other agents, which is maybe plan and execute agent and iterative agents who once given a request. So if I would have said, how do I make an API request? It would make a plan first, like search for all the documentation for it, then write the code for it, call an API for it, and then it would run through it. But this is a zero shot agent. So what it does is basically based on your input, it figures out what tool to use, and then it just basically gets the result and gets you the answer. So in our case, I wanted to figure out how to make an API call. It went through the README file and it has the code for it, so which it got for us. And yeah, this is how the agents work. And like I said, you don't need to remember history. So if I was asking about sending, did we talk about sending a GET request? So there was no question that I asked particularly about sending a GET request, but there was something that we tried before as to, there was a history about it. Yeah, I'm gonna turn off the history thing for a while because it's taking out files which have extremely long um, text files. Currently it's on the base model which has a limit on the character limit, but if I do the same thing with, let's say, GPT-4, which I know has a very high context length. So yeah, you saw this with the base model. But if we do the same thing with GPT-4, which I know has a context length of 128k characters. So this time it didn't even fail with this one because the context length was really big, and it understood a little bit more in terms of what I'm looking for. So of course GPT-4 is the most powerful model in the capability right now, but yeah, it usually works well with the base model as well. Even it would be interesting to try this out, experiment with the GPT 3.5. We updated the GPT 3.5 model to work with the new one, so the context length for this is also increased to 16k. Yeah, this also worked. Currently, yeah, the response is not as good as GPT-4, but again, that's also what depends on the model. Uh, the current base model has a context length limit of 4k, so if it's failing, it's most probably because of the context length. What I would recommend you to do is just switch the model and try with a new model. I want to hear more about the history, so I will turn on GPT-4 file retrieval. um, did we talk about, so I just want to talk about our previous history. Did we talk about get requests? So what this will do is, interesting. But yeah, I just want to point you out here that it does have access to all the history. It's listening. It has the power of recalling previous conversations. Since I didn't ask that specific question, it didn't find anything in the past. Again, it's an LLM, so the response it's giving you is not dependent on what you're asking, what tools it can use. It has no idea. So yeah, it tells you that it has a capability, but we do have the capability to recall past conversations. We are soon adding a feature where you can search through your past conversations in a way how you would talk with a human. So you will soon understand that also works. But again, this is in very in beta. I just wanted to show you what our use case was and what we were trying to achieve with AskCodi agents here. I would recommend you guys to play around with it as much as you can and let us know all the little bugs that you find so we can fix it as soon as possible and then also release it to the general public. AskCodi agent is still very beta because we have no idea how it's going to behave in terms of using tools or using output, because yeah, it needs to get to a point where it's really good at understanding human input. uh, I would request you to be as clear with your input as possible, because it thinks first, okay, do I need to use a use an app for it or use something for it. And also remember the base model capabilities. Base model is powerful but doesn't work with a lot of context. So the longer the conversations get or the longer your files get, I would recommend you to switch to 3.5 or 4 because they have way longer lengths. We are switching the base model very soon to one of the more capable models that are out right now, which is Code Llama 70 billion or Mistral 8 X7B. They have considerably long context length. This is something that we are always working towards, getting you better and better models. So new models are going to be introduced very soon with very high context limits and power capabilities as comparable as GPT-4. So uh, do look out for the announcements and continuous live events. But yeah, models are being updated, and as the models are being updated and as we're optimizing it in the backend, these agents are going to get really powerful in terms of understanding what you want to achieve, what tools to use, and if you have a tool, then um, yeah, how to use it properly. So even if you have like a very long input with all the functions and code and everything, it's usually gonna figure out what it needs to search for in terms of a concept. So yeah, that's where the agent gets really helpful, because it collects the information from your data files and from the internet and tries to get all the results to get you the best answer. We From the last iteration of agents, we have optimized it so that it actually gives you code outputs. at the end. So, and not just research. Like if you were on a research mode, which we have a different Codi researcher app for. So if you were probably creating a researcher app which would go find information on the internet about different new libraries or something, then of course it's gonna give you output about what it found on the links and everything. But yeah, would recommend you to use code search, web search, and try experimenting and figuring out what works best for you. So in our case, we saw that GPT-4 works really well with context length. Same for GPT 3.5, but base model is more capable in terms of getting you the output you need. Um, we are iterating over this, and this is going to soon get really better in terms of performance. And once we have the plan and execute agent, then you would also be able to complete longer projects in terms of going through and creating different files. But at this point, the whole focus of this is to optimize and make this better. So I would recommend you to like experiment with it as much as possible, and do reach out to us. Let us know what your feedback is, and what are you having troubles with, where are you seeing a peculiar performance of the Codi agent. Soon you're going to see two more new tabs about LLMs and tools, where you would be able to choose and activate uh, different large language models that will be added to the platform, and also interact with different tools. We are adding the code interpreter very soon, which would let agents write and run Python code. That would be another dimension, and then other tools will be activated soon as well. Um, Try out the new version. If there's something that is again not working, please reach out. And for now, I will open the board to questions. So if you have anything right now, please do reach out in the chat bots, and someone from my team would let me know and I can answer them. Okay, so I have some comments from Wells WebTech. Uh, Thank you, Wells WebTech. We have seen serious comments and feedback from you in terms of using agents. So, and I know you are on the ultimate plan. So GPT 3.5 is unlimited for you, but GPT 4 does take credits in terms of using it. So, and GPT 4 being the most powerful agent right now on the platform with the highest number of credits in terms of context. So, um, GPT-4 can take 128,000 context. That is really large, and it's not going to fail on most of the sources. But we are gonna, if you come reach out to us with your feedback and tell us uh, what's wrong with it, and if it's failing for you, then we can replenish your credits and you can reuse it. But the whole point would be to come back to us and tell us what's going wrong. In terms of Codi agent, so there's one problem that's already been pointed to us, and we are already working on it in terms of history. We are figuring out how to get the agent to recall the best memory uh, that's happening with it. But yeah, we are working on it to get better. In terms of asking questions, be as clear as you can be. There, that would always definitely be better in terms of getting responses from it. But and about credits, so beta, we in terms of beta, it still uses GPT-4. Some of the users still have access to GPT-4. One of the questions is why limit our credits in beta state. So the credits are limited in terms of GPT-4. It is a very powerful model, but it is also extremely expensive. There are other models where Beta, where the base model and GPT 3.5 are unlimited for both our paid users, so you can use that as much as you want to, but the limit on credits is just for GPT-4. There are certain apps that, again, if you reach out to us, tell us what is going wrong, where it went wrong, how did it eat up your credits. What we can do is replenish your credits so you can use it again. The whole purpose of doing this is to get as much feedback. So if it's eating your credit, reach out to us, tell us what's going wrong. We can fix it as soon as possible and also get you your credits back. Yeah, that was the question. The question is, why does ChatGPT 3.5 want to take my credits? It should not take your credits. If it is taking your credits, please reach out to support and we'll get that sorted as soon as possible for you. Again, about the credits, if it's not working for you and um, it's eating up your credits, reach out to us. Let us know what is wrong, what is the exact issue, so that first of all we can fix it, and secondly we can give you your credits back so that you can go again and experiment again. But yeah. Do we have any more comments or questions that need to be answered? Okay, so this was a very brief, not brief, but a walkthrough through our new features, which is the new tools and the Codi agent and data sources. There are definitely problems with agents and data sources, and we are continuously iterating and fixing it. The whole point of putting it in beta was to get as much feedback from you guys as we can before we roll out to the general public. Agents are a troublesome topic in terms of getting output, but definitely this is the direction where we can see the most optimum output from Cori in terms of not just getting you the best results, but also iterating and getting to the point where it can create entire projects for you, work with you over your GitHub sources. So we are committed to making this model work, agents work really well. um, in terms of using the models that we are talking about in chat, we would still recommend you to use base as much as possible, because llama GPT-4 is something which is optimized for agents, and it's already has a capability to understand to a certain level. Other models, Llama and GPT 3.5, is where we need to optimize so that people get the best benefit for the least amount of money. So if it works really well for base and GPT 3.5, you have literally unlimited usage of agents. So if you are using AskCodi Beta right now and you're trying out agents, you're experimenting with it, you want to give us feedback, I would recommend you to use base and GPT 3.5. Uh, they are very capable models in terms of getting you the output, so they are good at it. In some cases it would happen that the context might be too long, or it might be using the wrong tool again and again. Like in my case, it would use the search over retrieval over always. So if something like that happens, then definitely try out the other models. But for experimentation, definitely try using as much base model as you can. Once it's out of beta and when it goes to stable, then use the best model, which would be GPT 3.4. Or if we are able to add code llama 70 billion very soon, it's going to give very tight competition to GPT-4. So models are getting better. Hopefully our agents will get better, and then you can try out and see which model works the best for you. As for beta, I would recommend you to use 3.5 and base as much as possible to figure out what you can do in those unlimited credits that you have for your plan. Okay, I think that well covers our new features. Uh, we are working very quickly on implementing new features and improving the old ones. So we are going to be going live every Monday, same time at 5 CET for old users to tell you about what new features are we adding to Codi and what has been improved. For anyone new joining us, it would be sort of a recap of, not a recap, but a walkthrough of how to use Codi tools, Codi agents. And every time we do hope to run through new examples and run through new question and answers to figure out to help you the best in terms of using. So this time we use Python, probably next time we'll use React, Next.js. We'll go with different languages, different examples, and give you the most varied range of using AskCodi. Thank you so much. If you still have questions on using AskCodi, our support is open always. Please reach out and we'll make sure we can set up a call with you or even upload videos in terms of how to use it as soon as possible and get you up to date with the new tools and new agent. We really hope to get this up to our AskCodi mark as soon as possible and get you the best results with the best models out there. Thank you so much for joining us, and uh, hope you enjoyed Hope you enjoy using Codi Beta, and please do reach out